scholars, respected speakers, honored guests, and dear participants. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this lecture series come roundtable meeting on brain, mind, and their relationship. There are many profound questions that have fascinated humanity since ancient times. Among them are questions concerning birth and rebirth, the existence of life and death, the nature of mind, the functioning of brain, the mystery of consciousness, and their relationship between these seemingly interconnected yet distinct realities. These are not merely philosophical questions, they also challenge the modern science, psychology, neuroscience, and cognitive studies. Despite remarkable advances in scientific research, many of these questions remain open and continue to inspire rigorous inquiry and thoughtful dialogue. With this objective in mind, the Jain Academy of Scholars organized a lecture series come roundtable meeting in 2025 to explore the concept of rebirth and diverse philosophical and religious and scientific perspective. Eminent scholars presented valuable insights and discussions were both stimulating and enlightening. However, we also realize that such profound subjects cannot be adequately understood or resolved through a few meetings alone. Questions concerning the nature of existence have occupied the greatest mind of humanity for thousands of years. They deserve sustained, open minded, and multidisciplinary discussions. Progress in knowledge has always emerged through continuous dialogue, critical examination, and the willingness to consider different viewpoints. Therefore, these discussions must continue. It is in the spirit that we are launching another lecture series come roundtable meeting, this time devoted to one of the most fascinating subjects of our age, the brain, mind, and consciousness. This series has been carefully designed in two parts. The first part will focus on brain and mind, and more importantly, on their relationship. The second part will examine the equally profound subject of consciousness, exploring its nature, origin, and implications from scientific, philosophical, and spiritual perspective. The first part of this series will be conducted in 5 sessions. During these sessions, 16 distinguished lecturers from different disciplines will present their perspective on brain, mind, and their relationship. Each phase will conclude with an interactive discussion, enabling participants to exchange ideas, ask questions, and critically examine different viewpoints. We sincerely invite you all, scholars, researchers, students, and interested participants, to actively engage in these discussions and enrich their intellectual journey. The central question before us may appear deceptively simple, yet it has challenged philosophers and scientists alike for centuries. Almost everyone has heard about, say, my head tells me to do something, but my heart tells me something else. Sometimes we hear from people say, my mind say yes, but my brain seems confused, or I know what is logical, yet I feel compelled to act differently. These familiar expressions raise a fundamental questions. Are the brain and the mind the same, or they are different? Is the mind simply the activity of brain, or does the brain function as an instrument through which the mind operates? Is consciousness merely emergent property of neural process, or does it possess an existence beyond the physical brain? Can thoughts, emotions, memory, and self awareness be completely explained by neural activity, or is there something off? Modern neuroscience has revealed extraordinary details about the structure and functioning of the brain. At the same time, philosophy, psychology, and various spiritual traditions continue to ask whether the mind can be fully reduced to physical processes and alone. Different traditions have offered different answers, and each perspective contributes something valuable to our understanding. Rather than beginning with predetermined conclusions, our objective is to listen carefully, examine evidence critically, and engage in respectful dialogue. Genuine scholarship flourishes not through agreement alone, but through thoughtful questioning and reasoned discussions. Over the coming weeks, we shall have privilege of listening the eminent scholars representing diverse disciplines and intellectual traditions. Their presentations will undoubtedly broaden our understanding and encourage us to reflect more deeply on these timeless questions. I hope that every participant will take full advantage of this unique opportunity, not only by listening to the lectures, but also by actively participating in discussions that follow. Meaningful dialogue often generates new ideas, and new ideas are the foundation of intellectual progress. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all our distinguished speakers for generously sharing their knowledge and expertise. I also thank every participant for your presence and your commitment to the pursuit of the knowledge. Of, with these words, I warmly welcome you all once again and wish this lecture series every success. Thank you very much. And now, Sancheti Saab, Sancheti Saab,
Yeah, am I audible now,
yes,
sir?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay. So
Thanks, sir.
now I request Dr. Pratap Sancheti to further elaborate the scope of this series and take the program forward. Thank you very much. Now, this is for Dr. Pratap Sancheti, please.
Welcome you all to this mega academic event. Purviji, just allow me to share the slides. This is an important
Yes, sir.
topic.
You are co-host, sir.
Okay, I'll just try.
You please
No,
remove this slide, Purviji. Yes.
Yes, I have done.
नहीं
No, yes.
नहीं अभी भी नहीं हो रहा है slide. The host
मेरे तो
not
बंद हो गया.
allowing.
I have
नहीं पर host is not allowing. I will just try.
हो गया.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah, now it is coming up.
Okay. Okay.
Now it is coming, sir.
Yes, it
No, sir.
started.
Yeah, okay, fine, sir.
Yes. Yes. Hmm. Make it fully screen, please. Hmm.
I'm trying it, but whether it will support me or not, I do not know. Okay, now it's
Okay.
there, sir.
Fine. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all. This RTM is very, very important. And the theme of the first portion is brain and mind interface. How the brain and mind, as Dr. Anil has just now said, that whether they are in continuum, they are different. Am I audible correctly, sir?
Yes. 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 Please go ahead.
Okay. The relationship between brain, body, and mind, and that too, along with the consciousness, is one of the deepest unresolved questions, persisting despite centuries of the philosophical inquiry and the recent scientific advances. While philosophy talks of the consciousness and the awareness, science speaks of the neural network, neural correlate of consciousness, regulation, and plasticity. Thus, you will see the language differs, but the aim of ours is strikingly very similar between the philosophy and the science to unfold intricacies of the life. Given the complexity of the situation or the subject, An interdisciplinary approach is much more likely to be better than a single explanation. The first portion of RTM will consist, as I said, as Dr. Anil has said, 5 to 6 sessions. Before I proceed the subject proper, let me just spell out some vision of the RTM. That priority will be on the interactive discussion rather than the theoretical conventional classes. Second, presentation of the speaker, as already has been told, will be followed by the question answer sessions, which will be, I think, more interesting than the presentation. And if you put it, the people who have put it in the Q&A box of the Zoom will be given priority than the open house. So let us start with our discussion today. And first comes the definition. The most difficult portion of I think, the talk or the subject is how to define the mind. Different people have got different approaches, but what we know very well, that is just subjective phenomena, non-physical, includes consciousness, memory, perception, awareness, intention, emotions, to name few. There are many of the events which are associated with the mind, which cannot be just enumerated. But what everyone agrees, that it is imperceptible, formless, and the shapeless. Thus, it is a functional model, which is a subjective one. And you cannot describe in the proper words, and you cannot judge from but indirect evidences, or we can infer through the behavior or the action of the individual and the changes in the hormones, EEG, fMRI, and many more scientific evidences like blood flow studies. So you can infer it, but you cannot just record it. And as we know very well, and we will be talking in more detail, functionality is divided into the conscious mind and the unconscious, which may be equivalent to the physical mind or the mental mind in the Jainism. What current our science suggests that brain functions are extended to the mind. So the mind is an extension of the brain's structural and the functional organization. That is the basic which the science is working on it. Whether it fits into the Jain philosophy or any other philosophy, I'm not very confident in telling. What the most, I think, accepted definition, which 50 years back, I got it in my academic training in the neurology, awareness of the self and the self in relation to the surrounding. That is the consciousness and the functions of the mind. This is the simplest definition, but the most comprehensive. Jainism view of the mind. It's a very difficult and the different topic, since Dr. Kachhara will be dealing in the great detail. So I'll not be duplicating it, but suffice to say that the three elements have been recognized: soul, mind, brain, and body. Now, are they one after another, or they are continuum, or they are totally different? That's the point which he will be discussing with us in that detail. The dual aspect I just mentioned, it's the quasi-sense organs as per the Jainism, and it is the instrument for the chetna or the consciousness, and not the source. That's what the Jainism believes in it. Again, the another important one, which is quite logical, looks: karma influences soul. Mental states are in continuous interaction with the karmas, and through this karma, they are interacting with the soul, mind, and body. I'm not going to touch this topic in the detail. As I said, it will be duplicated. Some of the scientific events which are relevant to the current discussion. One is the law of universality. Entire universe, be it the smallest organism in non-living things or highest to the human being, they all are in continuum. They are not separate one. And they all follow the same law, which in in non-living organism event. I'm sorry, which is being followed by the smallest animal, plants, or the non-living. It is being followed by us also. And even if you go further, it is being followed in the cosmic galaxies also. They work in the same way. Earth environment also works in the same principle. So the uniformity of the principle is one of the important points which has been noted recently. Whether they are coming from a common source like a seed, and when you look from the top, you see the fruits, you see the flowers, you see the leaves. Similarly, if you are looking from the top, you are looking the body, you are looking from the mind, you are looking for the brain, but all are part from, or they are originating from the one seed. That seed has to be recognized. And as I just now said, mental processes are emerging from the brain function. We will be in the next lecture series on the 7th. We will be talking on this how they can be recorded with the EEG, but indirect evidences. I'm sorry, it will be indirect evidences. So science seeks neural correlate of the consciousness, popularly known as NCC, and the particular organ or the part of the brain which are involved are prefrontal cortex, limbic system for the emotions, thalamus for the sensory integration, and the default mode network that we usually recognize through the fMRI, the self-referential thought, and how we are engaged in the activity. Another important point, which is often missed, is that we see the world in a digital way. And whereas all the events in the world, universe, not world, in the universe, they are in the analog pattern. That is perhaps the main reason that there are always conflict when science explains or the philosophy explains something. We always tend to look into the digital angle. A simple example, rainbow, 7 colors have been, we are known. They are 7 colors. You teach a small kid or to adult like me, we always say 7 colors, and they are shown in the different layers of the 7 colors. Whereas if you look into the sky, in reality, they are not 7. There are thousands of the shades in between the red and the violet. So we must look all the events, be it the thought, ego, or instinct, in the analog pattern and not the digital. That's how we are getting failure in our investigating. So the processes in the nature are in analog pattern. That is one of the important points. And to record it in the digital is not a true, but it is a symbolic representations. And so what is there in this analog pattern is that there is a dynamic integration between the various processes, parallel processes, not in the single, as you see in the digital, the simple digital, only single line is there. No, there are multiple integrations which are there. And there is no fixed hierarchical stages. They are totally in the analog pattern. That's why they were talking that it's a different models of the 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions, of the 8 dimensions. Now, it suggests, if you look into from the analog pattern, that both mental development is a continuous overlapping, not one after another. It's an overlapping and integrative process. So when the new experience comes to us, the old experience doesn't get dissolved. It is just suppressed. It is there within this. If you look into this one, like a rainbow, they are there in your brain or mind, whatever you call it. Another important point, because today I'm not going to talk to you on the final, but just approaches. Science approaches through the bottom-up approach. That is beautiful. From known to unknown. That is the science basically. So if you look into science has started, or it is just knowing us very well from the cell to the body organs, then to the mind, to the brain, spinal cord, and all the things. So from body and brain, it ascends to the mind, then possibly we will be able to touch the consciousness of change. So the bottom-up approach is the main approach which we science follows. Whereas the philosophy, if you look into, it comes into the other way. Bottom is a top-down approach. Means it's a very strong or robust on the universe, soul, and perhaps little on the mind also. But it has got a very weak the impression on the body and the organs and the brain. So philosophy, but if you look into this one, at the level of mind, perhaps there is a meeting point. While at the level of the body, science can teach a lot of things to the philosophy, but it has to learn a lot from the philosophy when it comes to the mind and the universe. So they should be interacting, they should be supplementary, and they should be guiding each other rather than fighting or just finding the fault in this one or the flaws in the approaches. That's not the correct, because we are going from the different direction. The second important point is the two-way interaction. There is no single-way interaction in the nature or in the human body or in the life, anywhere. Anywhere if you go into that, there are always a two-way, whether you talk of the mind and the universe, there is a two-way. Similarly, brain and the mind, there are two-way interactions. Body and the brain, again two-way. I'll be showing in the next slide. If you look into between cell organs and the brain, there is a two-way. Whatever happening in the cells are being conveyed to the brain, and whatever happens to the brain are conveyed back to the cells. Similarly, brain and mind, they are interacting. They are not different. They are interacting. So calling that brain has got no mind or nothing, or every from cell to the universe, there is a total mind. It's what we call as a universal mind. So that is the main aspect. And what we have learned from the mind model is that it is a set of functions. Like a software which I'm just talking on the Zoom, it is not visible to us, but it is being felt by every one of us. It's a set of functions which works on the EM energy. And this system is a highly adaptive. Nanoseconds to the nanoseconds, it keeps on changing its actions and the reactions. And as I showed just now, two-way interactions, receive and delivers. Receive and delivers. So brain, in our philosophy, scientific philosophy, brain not only receives the signals from the universe, it sends the signals to the universe also. Now, how much and how capable they are in influencing this one, that's the point of our discussion. So mind and body, mind, emotions, body, cell, organs, they all are interlinked and they interdependent. That's perhaps Dr. Bhandari will be talking to us in great detail today. They all are interlinked. That's what I put it in this model. And this is what I call it as a holistic model, not as a fragmented model that this is different, this is different. No, that's not the correct one. So with these points, I will like to move to the academic session which is going on. And since it is an introduction, so I don't think the questions should be there. It will be there in the next subsequent RTMs when I will be speaking on the detail, and the other learned speakers will be speaking much more in detail. So the question, we will not be having a question answer here, and we'll move on to the next one. We have got now two keynote addresses have been planned today. Very highly learned speakers. And perhaps we are blessed that they are here with us. So the first one is on the Jain philosophy and its correlation with the scientific knowledge. Dr. N.L. Kachhara from Udaipur will be speaking to us. And I'll invite Dr. Kachhara to share his screen and the lecture.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchetee. Really, we are talking about a very important subject, like mind, mind is one which affects our life. It affects our personality. And we should therefore know about mind, what is mind and how does it work. Mind has been studied both in philosophy as well as science, as told by Dr. Pratap Sanchetee. Jain philosophy presents mind as a convincing principle, and science is still struggling to explain it. Science, of course, has studied brain in great detail, but regards mind as some kind of emergent property of brain processes. Jain principles, they are very clear. They present reality, but many times are found short of scientific explanations that can convince the modern mind. Therefore, in my presentation, I shall make only a passing reference to scientific views of mind because they will be discussed by other speakers and also due to time constraints, and shall focus on Jain principles particularly, but try to understand these principles in a scientific perspective. And in doing so, I shall make some logical speculations. First, mind in scientific thought. Very briefly, mind is that which thinks, feels, perceives, imagines, remembers, and wills. It covers the totality of mental phenomena. There are various fields of inquiry to study mind in science, like psychology. Psychology is the scientific study of mind and behavior, and it investigates both conscious and unconscious mental phenomena. Then we have neuroscience. Neuroscience is the study of nervous system, as told by Dr. Pratap Sanchetee. Its primary focus is on the central nervous system and the brain in particular. Then there is philosophy. Philosophy is an important area. It studies mental phenomena such as desires, beliefs, emotions, intentionality, and consciousness and their relation to the physical world. The philosophy also examines solutions to the mind-body problem, like dualism, idealism, physicalism, and assesses arguments for and against them. And it asks an important question, whether there is a free will, and we'll talk about it from the Jain perspective. Then there is a cognitive science. Cognitive science is the interdisciplinary study of mental representations and brain processes. It's not a unified field, but a collaborative effort. A central tenet of cognitive science is the complete understanding of mind-brain relationship. For instance, how the firing of individual neurons translates into observed behavior. That's a very important point. A little about the human brain, because that is connected today. So the brain contains more than 100 billion nerve cells and about 100 trillion interconnections. It receives and interprets information from outside world and inner self, and interprets and stores them, and directs and coordinates the required actions of our body. The primary operations of many of the main mental phenomena are located in specific areas of the brain. That is not my subject. Somebody else will talk about it. The relationship between brain and mind is complex. The brain is the central processing unit of the body, and they plays a very key role in translating the contents of the mind into complex patterns of nerve cell firings and chemical release. There is brain activity, and there are electromagnetic fields which are produced in the mind, And these fields may in fact be the main basis of explaining consciousness and intelligence. This is an important point, that the mind has electric fields or electromagnetic fields, and which are very important to understand the functioning of mind. One question which a cognitive science raises is, what is intelligence? The essential question in cognitive science is, what is intelligence? There is another term known as intellect, and it is considered to be the ability of mind to come to correct conclusions about what is true or false and how to solve problems. So there are two terms, intelligence and intellect. Then there are various theories. One of the Gardner's theory, how many intelligence? He says that there is not one intelligence, but there are 8 kinds of intelligence depending upon of our activity. Then there is people define what is known as a conscious mind and what is unconscious mind. The conscious mind is a recognition when awake and alert. So the consciousness is considered to be relevant only when you are awake and alert in science. And it's a very small component of the mind complex of the tune of 5 to 10%. And it is compared with an iceberg, where only a small part is visible, and about 9/10 part is not visible. It is submerged underwater. Then there is unconscious mind. This is the major portion of the mind complex, and it is active all the time. It determines our habits, behavior, and personality. This is important, So the unconscious mind is important regarding our own personality, our own nature. Or only this much about the scientific thought. I'll mainly concentrate on mind in Jain philosophy. First, we review some concepts related to mind. Before we come to mind, some other concepts are necessary to understand. One term was called chit. This is important to understand mind. What is chit? Chit is consciousness, but it's a fraction of sum total of manifested consciousness. It is not the full manifested consciousness of the soul that contains the past experiences and karma, memory of past lives, emotions, cognitive power. Chitta has 3 functional aspects. So chit can be divided in 3 aspects. One is adhyavasa, a term which we commonly hear about. Adhyavasa is the passion-infested side of the consciousness of the soul, containing perverted attributes of raga and dvesha. So raga, dvesh, they are part of adhyavasa. Adhyavasa contains these attributes. Adhyavasa is also called as a subtle chit, sukshma chit. It is present in all living beings. Adhyavasa is present in all living beings. Mind is present only in a specific category of living beings. And the adhyavasa results in mithyat, avirati, pramad, and kashaya. Then another term, leshya. Leshya is another very important aspect of our personality and psychology. We are not conscious of leshya, how they are expressed in our body, how they are working, we do not know. But they are expressed without the help of mind. The mind has no control on Lesia. There are 6 kinds of Lesia. They are defined in our Agam. They are given here. I will not go into the details. Then another aspect of Chitta is Bhav. Bhav is our disposition of the soul, and it determines our emotional state. There are 5 kinds of Bhav: Odayik, Upashamik, Kshayik, Kshayopsamik, and Parinamik. Then the third part is Buddhi, what is known as intellect. Buddhi is a cognitive power and is the decision-making faculty of the soul. It works with mind. There are 4 types of Buddhi: Otpatiki, Vinayiki, Karbja, and Parinamiki. I am not going to the details. There are 5 levels of manifested consciousness. So we have layers after layers in our personality. Adhyavasaya is the subtlemost, the innermost layer of consciousness. Then there Bhav, then Buddhi, then mind, and senses. Senses are the most gross level of consciousness. Jainism define 2 types of mind: Bhav-man and Dravya-man. Bhav mind and Dravya mind. Bhav mind, which is also the conscious mind. It thinks, imagines, discriminates, and performs other mental functions. It is a part of the soul. So the Bhav mind, or the conscious mind, is some fraction of the soul, or some part, or some what you can say, some layer of the soul. Then there is a Dravya mind, which is physical, but it is a counterpart of Bhav mind, and it is composed of Manovargana. Manovargana is a subtle class of matter, and the Dravya mind is composed of this kind of matter. And this is the mind which interacts with brain. Mind extends the body space. According to the Svetambara belief, the mind is present all over the body. And according to Digambara belief, it is located at the heart. And the Dravya mind does not migrate with soul. When soul is migrating from one life to another, mind does not follow the soul. How are mind and brain formed and function? There are 2 principles, important principles defined in Jainism, what is called as a Paryapti and a Prana. So the mind and the brain both are formed by Indriya Paryapti and Mana Paryapti. There are 6 kinds of Paryaptis, and the 2, the Mana Paryapti and Indriya Paryapti, they form mind and brain. Then there are Indriyas, as we said, there are sense organs. The sense organs, they are not organs only, they are sensing system. It's comprising of 2 aspects, Nivritti and Upkaran. This is what is stated in our Agam, that the Indriyas are Nivritti and Upkaran. There are 2 aspects. Nivritti is the sense organ proper, and Upkaran is the sensing apparatus in the form of brain. This is not very clearly defined in Agam, but we can argue it out and say that the sensing apparatus is the brain, because all 5 senses or sense organs are connected to brain, So the brain acts as an apparatus for the senses. Then the second principle is the prana, and this is the source of vital powers in our body. Then the mana, bal, prana, and indriya prana, they provide the force for functioning of mind and brain. So the prana is important. Without prana, the mind and brain would not function. Now I have a small figure here to explain, how the system works. So you see that, we have got sense organs. And the sense organs have input from the environment, And the sense signals are then sent to the brain, the brain, what is B. Brain, then has various kinds of activity in terms of neurons and neuron network and so on, and produces some kind of field, electromagnetic field or the bioelectric field, And this information is sent to the Dravya mind first, which is physical, made of Manovargana. And Dravya mind then sends information to the Bha mind, which is part of the soul. So the brain, we'll talk about brain mind more after a little later. And the brain mind is continuously thinking and presenting sankalp vikalp, presenting options and choices and so on. And it's the intellect I which takes decision buddhi. The buddhi decides what to do and what not to do. And the brain, the bhavya mind, or this sends information back to the dravya mind, and dravya mind then sends information to brain, and the brain acts and it controls the body actions. So this is the way in which the brain mind function. I'll talk about two different aspects, important aspects. One is memory. What is memory? The scientific view is that the different areas of the brain storage, they store different memory. The memory is stored in different parts of the brain. This is what biology says. There is a researcher, Carl Leslie. He conducted an experiment on rat's mind, and he came to the conclusion that memories are stored in a distributed manner throughout the brain, not in a particular part of the brain. Then there is another opinion from Prai Brahm, and he says that the memories are encoded in patterns of nerve impulses over the entire brain, like that in a hologram. So he suggests that there is not one hologram in our brain, but a network of localized holograms, and the memories are stored in holograms, or the patterns of nerve impulses, which produce holograms. Then there is a third opinion, Rupert Sheldrake, he says that the memories are stored outside the brain. They are not stored inside the brain at all. So he says that the brain is only a conduit for manifestation of memory. It acts as a tuning system like that in a radio. So this is another concept which has come from scientific side. Jain view is that the memories are stored in Bhav mind. And they are stored as symbols. They are not recorded like we do it on a piece of paper. And the symbols have no logic, no language, without language. So when you recollect a memory, it is recalled and it is interpreted. The soul interprets the symbol and expresses it. Because the memory are stored as a symbol, so in the process of recollection, soul has to interpret this symbol and express it in a language which we have learned, So whatever language we have learned, we can express in that language, And the interpretation and its expression may differ each time the memory is recalled, because each time you recall the memory, it has to reinterpret the symbol and express it. And so there can be a difference in each event. And an event may be stored in more than one symbol. It's not one symbol which is interpreted at a time, but a series of symbols. The symbols, of course, may fade out or be deleted over a period of time, and the recollection of memory after a long time may be incomplete or forgotten. This is the experience we all have. I have divided the memories into two types. There are two types of memory. One that is registered with attention. and other is registered with less attention. Well, how attentive you are when registered in the brain. The former is likely to be reproduced in the correct way. If you are attentive, you can reproduce it in the correct way. But if you are less attentive, your reproduction can be incorrectly, or maybe that you forgot what you learned. As happens in the case of memories of early childhood. In early childhood, the child or the baby is not attentive, and therefore the memories which are stored in the childhood age are not easily remembered. Then, I make it a point that is not distinction. You must make a distinction between memory and memory carrier. There are two different things. Say, for example, Morse code is information transmitted. Message transmitted is the information. So the code is different, information is different. Another, radio waves are information carrier and are different from the information they carry. So similarly, the neuron firings, synapses, neuron network, and bioelectric fields in the brain are information holders and not the information. They do not contain information. Information is contained in the mind, which is transferred to the brain through Dravya mind. So this is the Jain view. Then I have given a picture here to understand how the system operates. This is a speculated one, so don't ask me for any proof. Now we have Bhav mind. As I said, that we have Bhav mind, which is part of the soul. And there is a Drava mind, which is made of Manovargana. This is the physical part of the mind, And then we have a brain here. And how the system works is that, when you are thinking, your thinking takes place in the Bhav mind. So when the Bhav mind is thinking, it is possible that some kind of waves are produced in the subtle mind field. So this subtle mind, Dravya mind, exists as a field because the mano-organized made up of charge. Charge produces a field, So Dravya mind exists as some kind of field, subtle field. It's a subtle field. And so when mind is thinking, there are some wave patterns which are produced in the Dravya mind. And these wave patterns induce bioelectric fields, wave patterns in the brain. So the brain then has bioelectric fields, which has been confirmed by science that there are bioelectric fields in the brain. So then these bioelectric fields are induced in the brain, and then this, of course, then controls the nerve firing, the nerve impulses, and the entire network of neuron firings, And these waves can be different in different parts of the brain. Okay? So each part of the brain, will have a different kind of pattern and different kind of memory, different kind of functions, and so on. And it is, of course, important that the wave patterns in the Dravya mind and the wave pattern in the brain are synchronized, They are properly tuned, as what the Rupert Sheldrake says. The Rupert Sheldrake is right in one sense that memories are not stored in the brain. They are stored elsewhere. According to Jain belief, they are stored in the Bhav mind, and it is by the tuning process that these memories are transferred to the brain. So, well, I have explained all these things. Then there is a question of free will. What is free will? And we all know that we can act freely, we can act independent of our karma. It's not necessary that the karmas dictate all our actions. No, we are free to act. Soul has a free will. And what is that free will? It is manifested consciousness other than chitta. So the total manifested consciousness of the soul can be divided in two parts. One forms chit, another forms free will. And its acts of free will are jnana and darshana and so on. And the jnana then is produced by suppression cum shading of jnana, varni, karma. And this is the power of the free will, the jnana, which is uncovered by our consciousness. Soul is free to act, but is not free to deny the consciousness or consequences thereof. That is, the soul binds karma. When we undergo certain actions, the soul binds karma due to lesha, because lesha is present in our body all the time. And it has to experience the results in future. So if you bind karma, the karma will bear fruits in future. So soul is free to act, but not free to deny consequences. I have given a little diagram here to explain on how the whole system works. So I represented the soul here. The soul, then I had divided in two parts. One is free will, another is chit. The chit then has three parts. This part, is the adhyavasaya. Then there is bhav, and there is buddhi, the intellect. And this part is the bhav mind, is also part of the soul, And the bhav is intimately influenced by what is called as a bhav and the buddhi. Then the soul has a connection with the gross body through two channels. One is the karma channel. So the soul is connected to the karman body. The karman body, there is the karmas are in infusion all the time. Vipak takes place all the time. And we can divide the karman body or the karma in two parts, the bhav karma and the psychical karma, the biological karma and psychical karma. The biological karma, which controls our body functions, or the body construction and the body structure, and the cyclic karma controls our behavior. So these karmas are acting with the Tejas body. And then we have, as a result, what is known as a paryapti, prana, and leshya. All these three, then I act with the gross body, and the gross body functions, What does the gross body do? It intakes solid, liquid, gas, air. And then it outputs again the solid liquid gas as a discharge point. This is the whole body works like this. So this is the external input, and these are the waste discharge points. Then there is another channel. The soul works through mind. This happens only in the cases of jivas which have mind, what is known as sangi jiva. So there the bhav mind is connected to dravya mind, as I said earlier. Okay, and so whenever there is a thinking in chitta, there is some kind of vibration produced in the dravya mind, and these vibrations then produce some kind of vibrations or a field in the brain. This is the brain part of the body, and the brain functions and it controls the gross body. So this is another channel which is present in our case. the free will also acts through the same channel, So this is free will. Free will can take action free of karma. And it is through the Dravya mind, it acts and then it goes to the control. The signal goes to the brain and then to the gross body. So there are two independent channels which connect soul and the gross body. So in a nutshell, I explained how the system works. This is what I said. There are two channels of connections between soul and mind, cell and body. It is obvious that brain is an essential condition for operation of free will. The free will can operate only when a brain exists. That is only Sanghi animals and humans can exercise free will. The lower animals up to 4 senses do not have this power of free will. Out of these two life forms, human beings have the most developed brain and therefore are in the best position to exercise the free will and thereby work for attaining the karma-free state. We can get salvation or liberation because of free will, because of the power of the soul, free will. If the free will were not there, you'll not be able to do what you want. All other life forms, including animals up to those having 4 senses, and celestial beings and infernal beings, they have no brain, and therefore they are bhogyoni. They have no mind and cannot exercise free will. Look here, so the humans are gifted with a power of free will, and the humans only can have liberation. Working of mind and brain. Mind works much as the same way as AI. We are familiar with AI today, and there is a talk of AI in every field of our activity. The memories are data, in fact, in the mind, and these data are constantly scanned in thinking process by the mind. So mind thinks on topics of current and future interest, and in this process, searches stored data, which is stored in the mind for information related to the topic, on topic which we are thinking, and it integrates this information and presents as ideas, action points, and etc. These thoughts are processed in the brain. So this information is also registered. So whatever the brain is thinking or the mind is thinking, it produces information. And that information also becomes a data. So there is a continuous generation of data as far as the mind is concerned. So the data bank of mind is dynamic and it is being continuously updated. Mind, therefore, has ready information for future use, and it is in a better position to think with the advancement of age. And this is called maturity. When we call the maturity, we are in a better position to think, because of this activity. Then you can compare the brain with the modern data centers. A human brain stores about 2.5 petabytes, 2.5 million gigabytes of data. And the brain uses about 20 watt of power to process this data. Only 20 watts, this much of data. In contrast, a modern data center would consume about 50 to 100 times this power for equivalent processing of data. Look here how efficient is the brain. Also, the data centers require a large amount of water for cooling the chips. And the brain uses only 20% of the total blood flow in the body, but then it also performs other functions like supplying oxygen and nutrients to cell and so on. So look here, the multifarious activity which is taking place in the brain. So now I summarize my talk by considering the challenges to scientific view. Science, there is a question to science. What is mind? There is no definite answer as yet, but there is a clear concept of mind in Jainism. What is the source of intelligence? The science does not know. The Jainism said the soul is the source of intelligence. Where are the memories stored? Question in science. Jain philosophy says that the memories are stored in Bhava mind. How do you explain the recollection of past life memories? The question which I did not consider in my talk, but everybody knows about it. There are past life memories. So the memories of past life are stored in our chitta. This is what Jain philosophy says. Why there is free will? Science is no answer. Free will is the jnana of the soul, according to Jainism. Who makes cognitions, perception, and who has feelings? Christian in science. Jainism said the soul has cognitions, perception, and feelings. Why there is qualia? I did not consider in my talk, but this is an important question. Subjective experience. We all have that, Why there is a qualia? Why there is a subjective experience? And the soul makes the experience which is subjective, So there are questions to science and answers in Jain philosophy. So Jain philosophy, according to me, provides a system of soul, mind, and body that is perfect and explains our existence in a holistic way. Thank you, and Jai Janendra.
Thank you, Dr. Kachhara sir. Excellent talk, I must say. Very new thoughts which have been explained in the scientific language. It's really a treat to listen to your talk. There will be many questions also, queries also, and suggestions also. But I just exercise my this one, my prerogative as a moderator. Where is the location of the Bhavaman? Is it within the body, or it is outside the body in immediate context, or it is in the open universe?
No, it is in the body. Our soul occupies the body. And Bhaman is a part of the soul, and therefore this is inside the body.
So that's wonderful, sir. Can you just a little highlight more on the interconnection between the brain and mind, which is the topic of the day? What is how the brain and mind are interconnected, and are they two-way communication or a single-way communication?
It's a two-way communication. So the mind, and brain are connected. And I said that the connection takes place through Dravya mind, The soul, which contains the Brahman, does not directly interact with the brain or the body. There is an interface which is subtle, and that subtle interface between Brahman and brain is the Dravya mind. It's a subtle, it's composed of subtle vargana, manovargana, which we call it, which is a four-touch matter. So that is the interface between these two. So the soul and mind, or the soul and brain, are connected through Dravya mind. And I explained that connection, by a figure, if you remember that.
So is it through the radiomagnetic waves or EM waves, or it is through the vargana? That's my last question, sir.
That's a difficult question. There are electromagnetic waves produced in the brain. Okay?
Correct.
Brain produces electromagnetic waves, and we have what is called the bioelectric fields. So the electric fields are there. And the Dravya mind, also is a kind of field, but it's subtle, cannot be detected by any scientific means. It's a subtle one. But that field also is supposed to produce some kind of waves, So there
That's
are
right.
waves in the Dravya mind, there are waves in the brain, and the two are tuned together. So if there is a tuning, then the information will transfer from mind to brain, otherwise not. And this tuning may not work if the brain is not working properly. So it is essential that the brain is in a proper condition in order that the mind works. Okay, that's an essential condition.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I just put one question has come in the Q&A box. Mr. Neeraj Jain. Mr. Neeraj Jain, can you put your question in, sir? Or should I read it from the...
Yeah, so my question is that we know that brain is a physical organ. Does the mind have a physical entity? I mean, how do you define mind?
Mind,
Dr. Kachhara, sir.
is that part of power of the soul which thinks. Okay, so basically it is the soul which is thinking, but the soul can be divided in various parts. It has infinite power, so you can divide it in various powers. That part of power of the soul which thinks is bhav mind. Okay, and that is non-physical, that is removed. But that is connected to a subtle physical structure which we call as a dravya mind or dravya man. That's a physical structure, but it is a subtle in the sense that it is made of some kind of subtle kind of vargana. So, and that dravya man, which is subtle, makes contact with the brain. Okay, through a process of tuning of waves, as I explained to you.
So what is the clear answer, sir? What is the clear answer? Mind has got a physical element or not?
Dravya mind is physical, bha mind is not.
Yeah, quite correct, sir. Hi, Mr. Neeraj, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, is the mind same as man? I mean,
Yes,
जो हम
मन है हमारा, वही माइंड है.
Okay.
तो ये जो जैन फिलॉसफी में समनस्क और अमनस्क जीव हैं, they are distinguished on the base. They are different from on the basis of ability to distinguish between right and wrong. So, if man is mind, then is it the mind which
It decides
distinguishes
between
between right and wrong?
Yes.
जो समनस्क
Yes,
जीव हैं, they can distinguish between right and wrong. अमनस्क
Yes.
जीव cannot.
No, they also do. Say we have mind. There is the two kinds of. We have two kinds of jiva as far as Jaina soul is concerned. One samanask, which have mind or man. Another which amanask, which do not have mind or man. Okay. So
Thank you, sir.
all those jivas which have mind also have brain. Remember, they are vertebrates. They also have brain. So the mind functions with brain. But the amanask jiva, which do not have mind and also do not have brain, okay, but they have adhyavasaya. I said there, the adhyavasaya or chitta is present in all beings, all kinds of beings. So in those beings which do not have man or mind, the adhyavasaya works as mind. So they can also, make distinction. They can also take decisions on what to do and what not to do. They can they take such decisions, but the power is very limited. And those beings which have mind, their power is highly developed, and they have this sense of right and wrong, false and true, and so on. As far as the amanask jiva is concerned, their decisions are only concerned with the body and nothing else, Okay.
Right.
Thank you, sir. I got
another
another question. Just a minute, sir. Another question from Mr. Rajendra Gandhi in the Q&A box. But be brief, please. Mr. Rajendra Gandhi.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sanchetee. No, my point is that we have been arguing from the point of view of modern science. So what I want to say is that it is clear that the Jain philosophy has a detailed and systematic way of describing the functioning of mind and body through consciousness. We need to understand this a little bit more in depth. So why can't the same be presented to the scientific community, the modern, and ask them to give counter argument instead of we trying to fix the Jain philosophy and try to fit it into the concept of modern science?
Right, right. We are not forcing scientists to accept Jain philosophy, but there are questions, which they have to answer. And they are not in a position to get any satisfactory answers to these questions. I put 7 questions, and the science is still struggling, as if they had to find a satisfactory answer, they then probably will come to Jain philosophy to learn about it and how Jain philosophy explains the whole thing.
How do we put this in a more forceful manner for the scientific community to come up with either a counter argument or accept the philosophy that our scientific basis with the Jain philosophy is trying to give? So the question is of, after all, modern science is just about 500 years old, whereas our soul science is thousands of years old, given by our Tirthankaras and the Gandharas. So the question is, we need to put it in a forceful manner for the scientific community to either say that this is not acceptable and these are the reasons, or they have to accept it. The question is, how do we do it?
Mr. Rajendra Gandhi, I interrupting you. We are not talking of the consciousness today. Today we are just talking on and because of the limited time, I'm stopping the question now. I'm just requesting Mr. Vimal Shah, 1 minute, please.
अरे मुझे भी तो चांस दीजिए.
And then we will give you, sir, but let the question answer
कब से
comes.
हाथ रेज किया है भाई?
I requested in the beginning, sir, that the first priority will be given to the people who have put in the question answer. I already requested. It was nothing. You have got your own views and very fruitful views. But we will just see that how the time permits. But first priority will be given to the people who are in the Q&A box. Mr. Vimal Shah.
Yes, sir.
Be brief, please. Be brief.
Yeah,
we have
sure,
got very short time.
Certainly. See, a connection has been shown between Bhavaman and brain through the Dravyaman. And it looks like from this presentation that Dravyaman is a permanent physical structure made of Manovargana. Now, my understanding is Dravyaman is not a permanent structure. Bhavaman, just like Bhasha Vargana is consumed and transformed into language, similarly, when the soul thinks about anything, it attracts the Manovargana Pudgal, transforms into the thoughts, and then releases them. Those Manovargana Pudgal create a kind of shape, and that is what is the thought. And that is the Dravyaman. This is my understanding about Dravyaman. So every thought creates a Dravyaman, and it does not have any permanent physical structure.
Right, you are right.
So, sir, yeah.
Okay, I understand your question, Dravyaman, of course, is not a permanent structure. You are right there, And it is said in Jain philosophy very clearly, the mind exists only when you are thinking. But the question is, in our case, we are thinking almost all the time. But then there comes a stage where the mind does not exist. The thinking process stops, as it happens in the case of Arihant. Arihant, the mind ceases to exist, in that particular case. And there is no Dravyaman at all. The Dravyaman may remain as a physical structure, but does not function, This is just possible, or may not remain, It's very debatable question, But I agree with you that the mind is not a permanent structure. It exists only when we are thinking.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Elsie Jain, please. Dr. Elsie Jain, sir.
Hello, sir.
I am a great fan of our Kachhara ji, and he had a very wonderful talk. Still, I have some doubts. First thing is, sir, soul, the position of soul in our body is throughout it extends throughout the body. जो है अपना आत्मा जो है पूरे शरीर में इसका फैलाव है, तो इसलिए हम उसका उस अपने आत्मा का किस हिस्से में माइंड मन को अपन किस हिस्से में आत्मा के किस हिस्से में रखना चाहेंगे कछारा जी? द्रव्यमान वगैरह क्या क्या आपने बताया, आत्मा के अंदर में एक पार्ट है, फला है, तो ये जो है आत्मा ही जब अपनी पूरे शरीर में फैली हुई है, तो माइंड जो है क्या वह भी पूरे शरीर में फैला हुआ रहता है, क्या है ये? थोड़ा एक प्रश्न ये है मेरा। एक मिनट, दूसरा प्रश्न मेरा ये है कि आपने बताया कि लेशिया का और माइंड का शायद कोई संबंध नहीं है। मैं जहां तक समझ पाया हूं, हो सकता गलत हो, तो मेरा कहना यह है कि माइंड और लेशिया का क्लोज रिलेशन है। जो हमारे मन में जो विचार आते हैं वही हमारे भाव और लेशिया के रूप में परिणित होते हैं। देयर इज ए क्लोज रिलेशन बिटवीन लेशिया एंड माइंड। एंड एक बात और थी कि जो अपना अभी कॉन्शसनेस का तो बाद में आपने कहा बाद में पूछिएगा। अब दूसरा मैं कह रहा था कि जो प्लेजर हमको आनंद मिलता है, प्लेजर और पेन, वो हमारे आत्मा में ही होता है, शरीर में नहीं होता है। आवर सोल एक्सपीरियंसेस प्लेजर एंड पेन। सो इन सब चीजों को कछारा साहब थोड़ा एक्सप्लेन करने की कृपा करेंगे।
Thank you. I said that, there are two beliefs as far as the location of mind is concerned in the body. One, the Swetambar belief says that mind extends the whole body. Okay, so the Brahman is there all over the body, just like soul. As the soul extends the whole body, so does the mind, Brahman. This is one belief. The another belief is that the mind is located at the heart. This is the number belief. Okay, I believe that the mind must extend the whole body, but it is concentrated in the brain. Extend does not mean that it is uniform all over the body. So the consciousness also is concentrated in the brain, so also the mind. That's your first question. The second question is regarding the relationship between mind and leisure. Yes, the leisure affects mind. It is the other way around, rather than mind affecting leisure. हम मन से लेशिया को कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. Our mind cannot control leisure. The leisure is expressed in the body. It's already working. But then it affects the brain, so that, the brain and the mind, and it affects the mind, So the mind is affected by leisure and not the other way around. This is my belief. This is what I understand.
Sir, 1 minute, sir.
The leisure cannot be controlled by mind.
Just now again interrupting, sir. Now we have got a short of time. The next speaker is also due, and we will take. And in the end, if time permits, we will take few more questions. So I just thank Dr. Kachhara
Sir,
for an excellent.
Please take Mr. Arun ji question.
But Dr. Bhandari sahab has got only 30 minutes.
Okay.
No I'm sorry, I would have taken it, but so please excuse me now.
अरुण जी का क्वेश्चन संचेती साहब, अरुण जी कुछ पूछ रहे हैं तो उनको पूछने दीजिए. 1 मिनट लगेगा.
नहीं, भंडारी साहब के पास टाइम नहीं बचेगा सर.
ओके,
अभी तो 30 मिनट्स ही हैं उनके पास में.
Okay.
ठीक है सर, I can
sorry.
short,
So
but the discussion is very interesting. So
the discussion must go on. I agree with you. But I agree with you.
I can finish in no time.
After that, we have got the time, definitely. So without wasting any time in the introduction, I'll just request you, sir, on interconnectedness and the interdependence of brain and mind. Sir.
Yeah, now I have to share the screen.
Share the screen.
Uh, Thank you very much, Sanchetee Saab. We had a very comprehensive lecture by Kachhara Saab, very thorough, and he presented the Jain view, and uh, he also gave some ideas about what science thinks. My submission is that we can go on breaking down body, brain, mind, karma, consciousness, and all these in bhav, man, and dravya, man, and the senses, and all that. That is one way of looking at things. You go on splitting and understand the function of each one. But for a full understanding, we have to integrate all the information. So, I think that integration is required, and this Jain model what Kachhara Sahib has produced or he talked about, we can take it as a working model and try to see how it integrates with the other concepts. So today what I want to do is very briefly make some propositions as if to prepare ground for discussion. My first proposition is that body, brain, mind, karma, and consciousness, they are intimately connected. You can't, you can separate them out, you can isolate them in their own pure state, but they cannot be discussed in isolation. So when we discuss them, we have to discuss all of them together. The other proposition I have is that every object in the universe has a wave equivalent. That is what de Broglie said in physics, that every material particle has a wave equivalent. Each one of us, every single particle. And then Schrödinger gave this equation. I'll come to that in a little while. But the point I want to make is that we are immersed in this invisible sea of waves. Everything is producing waves, and we are just sitting inside this ocean of waves. The third proposition is the brain has many faculties which are lying dormant because they are not used for or they are not developed. Now, what are these faculties? I think we cannot take brain as just an instrument, and I'll talk about this a little bit. One of the faculties, the brain is an antenna. It was also mentioned there in the previous lecture. But it is a receiver as well as transmitter, and it is connected to the cosmos through the subtle forms of communication. And these forms of communications are Bhasha Vargana, Mano Vargana. They receive signals from the cosmos filtered by karmas. This is so proposition is that brain, in spite of the fact that it has many faculties, one of the faculties is that it is an antenna which is a receiver. It is just an instrument. It doesn't think. That is what I believe in. Then mind and Chetna are fields. Mind is a field. Chetana also is a field filling the whole cosmos, coexisting with each other, and the material world is also immersed in these fields. So thus there are three coexisting domains in the universal space: Bhutakash, Manokash, and Chidakash. Bhutakash is the physical world, Manokash is the mental, psychological world, and Chidakash is the Chetana or consciousness field. And they all the three have different laws, but they interact with each other. And mind and Chetana are quantum fields. The question was raised in the previous talk about free will. And for understanding free will, we have to invoke quantum physics because it gives you options. Free will can only come when there are options, and options are given not in the classical mechanics or the deterministic processes, but in quantum fields where there is a probabilistic, there are many probabilities exist and one chooses one of them. So, in quantum fields, there is a choice, but they can materialize. Just as you know, electron is a wave, but it can materialize and give you a particle. And same way, mind and Chetna are quantum fields and can materialize. And then we can talk of Dravyaman and Adyavasa and all those things. Now, collapse of these waves or superposition of them, they can produce individuals. So, these two things, mind and Chetana, are individual as well as universal. And this gives rise to collective mind and collective consciousness, as well as individual mind and individual consciousness. So, you cannot talk from deterministic point of view or ekantic point of view, but you have to consider that both possibilities are there. These things are individual as well as universal. And body, of course, is a coarse object, so it works in classical deterministic fashion. Brain works both in deterministic and quantum domain. And Penrose has given this or theory of making decision, that is orchestrated objective reduction method. So, mind and consciousness, they work in quantum domain. So, these are 7 propositions. I don't have answers to all of them, but I am just trying to prepare a ground for this RTM to be, addressing to these questions, and maybe at the end of these sessions, which Dr. Anil Kumarji and Sanchetee Sahab are organizing, maybe we come to some convergence of views on these things. So, this was shown in a way schematic diagram by Kachhara Sahab. So, we have body, which is a collector, we have brain, which is a processor, we have mind, that is a controller, and we have soul, which is a experiencer. And between the soul and the mind, there is karma comes as a filter. So, you can only experience what your karmas can allow. So, this is how the process, and it works both ways. It is a two-way traffic. Now, body, as we all know, has many senses, receives signals in form of waves and chemicals. So, there is biochemical processes, and there are electromagnetic processes and bioelectrical processes. So, these things are received by the body, mediated by brain, and mind converts them into physical action. Now, brain has many parts, left and right, and they are talking of soul waves, which goes on integrating. People have a split mind, but consciousness is not split. We always get one view. The left mind thinks about logic and right mind is emotions, but we don't see them separately. So, we have to have an integrated view. I think that is the point I want to emphasize. So, this brain integrates the signal, controls via biochemical, bioelectrical and neurological processes. Now, neurons are a world of their own. There is a whole lot of things. I think some experts will talk about that. And then the decision is taken, mediated by the mind. So, what mind does? Mind is a storehouse based on intentions, it decides, but who experiences, and that is where our concept of soul comes in. And consciousness is simply awareness of self and surroundings. So, there are of course ideas that consciousness is a emerging faculty. I'll come to it in a little later. Let me briefly show you. This diagram was shown by Dr. Kachhara also, that sense organs, then brain, then mind and soul. The soul is the experiencer, and mind has emotions, decision making, and stores all the information, and brain has it does two things. It integrates all the information which is coming from sensory organs and binds them, that is the binding function it performs. But who experiences that remains, that is the hard problem, as Chalmers has defined. But it is the soul, that is what we have to invoke, soul there. So what I wanted to say is, body is only an instrument limited to its size, and it follows the laws of Bhutakash, that is the physical world, that is the special theory of relativity, general theory of relativity, all laws of physics. Brain is also an antenna, receives and transmits. It follows laws of physics, and of course physics as well as Jainism says that there are subtle particles. There are 2 touch, 4 touch, 8 touch particles. So all these particles take part in various processes, and mind is all over the universe. I think it doesn't remain confined to the body, and it can roam in Manokash all the way. It can acquire any velocity, and it is made of Manovargana, which is a subtle 4 touch particles. And it is, as far as time is concerned, it can have past, present and future. And consciousness is spread all over Chidakash. That is the same universal space, but these three domains exist separately as well as together. And the beauty about consciousness is there is an instant connectivity of everything with everything. So that is, we can explain by this method, when the consciousness is pure, you can get Keval Gyan instantly at all the times. So that is instant connectivity. This is free will, and all that comes here in mind, and brain is the one which receives the signal and follows the laws of physics. So this is the proposition I want to make. Then we come to body, because today's topic is body and mind. So body, what medical science says, so we are what our body is, that is nervous system, sensory organs, brains, and organs consist of tissues, cells, molecules, and finally atoms. But if you ask a geneticist, he says we are genes. We are what our genes are. That is our behavior, our diseases, our various kind of functions. They are dictated by our genes. Whereas if you ask Jains, they say we are what our karmas are. Now, Rupert Sheldrake has given this theory of morphogenesis, and that is many things common between our Jain theory of karma and this theory of morphogenesis. So I think there is a lot of common ground between modern thinking and Jain thinking, between science and between philosophy, and between Jain philosophy and Jain concepts. So all we need to do is integrate them, and not say that one is deficient, one doesn't understand, and we have to invoke only philosophy understands things. That is not true. I think science has given us a lot of information. It enables us to understand the processes properly. So it is a clear ground where we have to stand and then integrate everything. The concept what comes out is how nature works. It doesn't work. We can separate out for understanding all the parts, brain and different parts of the brain and uh, different organs, but there is something, oneness is there. That oneness is, I think, the most important thing, and that is what I wanted to emphasize, that we have to integrate. So whether you take a simple cell, of course a cell is itself a big factory, it consists of many parts, or you take a galaxy or even solar system, everything works in coherence. Coherence means in step, but I go a step forward and say they work in deep coherence, means they know what other part is doing and they work according to that. It is not that they work independently, they work together. There is an order, there is a coordination and function of the smallest cell to the largest constituent of our galaxy. They work in synchronous way, everything takes its turn, they work in harmony, they are all entangled, there is instant connectivity, every part of the cell knows what the other part is doing, there is a dynamic equilibrium, and they work spontaneously, not by prompting, nobody tells them what to do. There is a cyclicity, they work in cycles as their turn comes, and they follow the principle of least action. This was pointed out in the previous talk, that the mind is very efficient. It requires only 20 watts of power, but that is because nature follows the principle of least action with highest efficiency, no waste. It uses all the constituents, it chooses a path in which minimum energy is required, and also it has a self-corrective faculty, that if any error takes place, it corrects itself. So we call it centropy, that is tendency to come together in order. So all these things taken together leads to oneness or free will, and Lovelock has called it Gaia, that everything is an organism in which every part of the organism, the whole universe, he talked about the earth only, that earth is an organism, he said, a macro organism in which every part takes a turn and works in a sequence which will benefit each other. But we can extend it to the whole universe. Actually, the whole universe works as a single entity, and from of course this principle various things emerge. I am not going to go into this, but I think this concept of oneness is very important. Then I come to this other concept I talked to, that everything in the universe has a wave nature, and this is what D. Broglie talked about, electrons and protons, but I think every body has a wave nature. So when we have an empty box, it is not empty, but it is full of various things which cannot see. And I don't want to load you with all these difficult equations, but I want to, this is the Schrodinger's equation, which is called Schrodinger's wave equation, is the most fundamental concept in physics. I don't want to go into various parts, but draw your attention to only one point, and that is I. I is iota. It is under root of -1. It shows that the universe is very complex. What you see is not the universe, there is a virtual part also. So complex means real and virtual, both parts exist in the universe. So we should not take what we can see as all, and that also is a part of Jain philosophy, that there are things which are subtle, we cannot see, they don't interact, but only Kevlis can see and all that. But the point I want to make from this slide is that what we see is not all, and the universe is not only real but complex as well. That means in addition to real objects, it has invisible virtual components as well. Let us take the case of sound. Sound in Vedanta is defined in 4 ways. One is the Vakari, the normal sound we hear, which travels 100 meters per second in air, requires a medium to travel and all that, and it goes and produces compression waves on our eardrum, and we can hear. And then there is Madhyama, which is the electromagnetic wave. From the nerve to the brain, it goes as an electromagnetic wave. And then there is the Pashyanti. The body takes, I'm only considering here sound waves, but the same is true for all other senses, including light, what we see by eyes and the whatever other sensory organs give. But considering only the sound waves, so it is normal sound waves which we can hear. It converts into electromagnetic waves and goes to the brain, and then brain to mind it goes as a visual. They said it is a symbolic. I can recognize a person because I have his picture stored in my mind. So this is Pashyanti, and then beyond that more subtle is a para. So and then there is a avyakta para also. So you see all these things have been at least the first two, Vakari and Madhyama, have been investigated by science very well. And what I want to say here is that the same comes from the concept of Bhasha Vargana in Jainism, that our brain is only an antenna. What I speak is only what I receive from the cosmos, and my bronchial cord only converts into sound. So it is received, then it is converted into sound and transmitted by my faculty of speech, and again we can keep on getting. And this is, I think, if you have heard the lecture of Dr. Dharmchandji last week in on this Jaina platform, this JS platform, then he explained how this Bhasha Vargana is received. So we are in, I mean, the point I want to make is that we are in continuous communication with the cosmos, and we receive through our brain. In our Jain philosophy talk that everything is built from Parmanus to Skanda, and then they talk of 23 Varganas, and so all these things are communicated through these 4 mediums of sound. So the conclusion is we are only instruments receiving signals in Pashyanti mode, and our bronchial cord converts into dhvani, and maybe according to our karmas. So this is the kind of model I want to produce, and people have studied this. I have taken this from the web. This is the outer ear. Here it is the sound which we hear, then inner ear, and it is converted into electromagnetic waves and goes to the brain. But this is one part. Now, from brain, actually, they have identified a region in the brain which is called supplementary motor area, which is responsible for premonition. You can tell beforehand what is going to happen. And this is neurons are the information carriers of this in the brain. Now, this is a subject in itself. I will not go into great detail. I think some neurologists will talk about this more. But there are trillions of neurons, and then there are synapses, which are the junctions. One neuron doesn't talk to another neuron directly, it goes through synapses, and then they go to dendrite, and these dendrites they are made of microtubules, and microtubules are made of tubulins, and tubules are nanometer in size, where quantum physics come into play. When things are very small, then they work in quantum domain, means there are many possibilities and they can take a decision. So this is a theory developed by Penrose and Hameroff, but that decision making is taking place in our physical mind, which is made of these nanotubules, and they can say yes or no and take a decision. But I think that is a very trivial definition of consciousness. Consciousness has many other aspects other than decision making, and we have to look into this. I think in the when we discuss this topic of consciousness, we'll say that this kind of theory which is given is not adequate. So brain function, mind and man paryay gyan. Now of course everybody knows that there are billions of neurons, synapses and glia cells which support them. But in general, neurons are identical in every person, but the structures they form are different. Thus, they are identical as well as distinct as humans are. You know, all people are similar. They have similar structure, but still they are different. That is how we can identify one person from the other. So things are both identical as well as distinct. And every thought fires a neuron. And when neurons are fired, they get wired. So when neurons are fired with intensity, they make a stronger structure, and when they are fired very mildly, the structures are very weak. But these structures exist, and this is what I think we can connect to the bhav karma, which Kachhara Sahib defined. Depends on the intensity of thought, what type it is, emotions, extent, how many neurons are there. So this is a structure which can define karma. This is an independent theory of karma just based on neurons. Whether this is sufficient or not, but I think it has very many similarities with our Jain concept of karmas, because it can explain the type, intensity, pradesha, and it will uday and coming into existence of karmas depending on the strength of these neural structures. So karmas are a shape of neural structure, and everything depends on that pradesha, and whatever are defined, all the qualities can be explained within this framework. When the structure gets dissolved, the karmas are dissolved. So memory is also observed in such structures. Man paryay gyan, as I could understand, I may not be fully knowledgeable about it, but man paryay gyan, they don't receive these alpha, beta, gamma waves, but they can see the structure in the brain, and that is why how one can have telepathy and read each other's mind. So these neurons have a very important function to play, and I think we have to wait till some experts give their views on how the neural network works and whether this is sufficient to explain the karma theory. Now, mind has few theories, local as well as cosmic. As I said before, we are connected with the whole cosmos as well as we are individuals. And mind is dynamic, updating all the time as more data and more observations come in. Question is, does mind have an existence? When we go to thoughtless state, does mind exist? Is it Pudgal? Does it have a shape? And of course, consciousness, we have a division of mind in conscious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind. But these divisions are, I think, only for understanding various functions. It works in a very integrated way. So mind is only collection of thoughts. Mind is nothing but विचारों का एक समूह है. But what Patanjali has gone further and said that mind can construct the whole universe and it can destroy it all the time. And that construction of the universe, that is your concept about the everybody or the whole universe or every component of the universe, is created by mind and is destroyed all the times. So mind does both the functions. It is a creator as well as a destroyer. But I don't know whether it exists, because when you have a state of thoughtlessness, then where does the mind go? And of course, Buddhism gives much importance to mind and says mind is the ultimate reality, and chitta is like a lamp. It is not the same all the time, but just like a lamp, a new flame comes all the time. There's a continuity, but it is transient. In Jainism, in comparison, we say soul is the ultimate reality. And in terms of David Bohm, who talk of implicate order, I think soul is the implicate order, the ground state which creates all our experiences. It is the experiencer, it is not the cause, and so on. Whereas Hinduism, they say Brahma is the ultimate reality. It is very similar, I don't find much difference. But they say it is the cause, whereas Jainism says it is not the cause. I think that is the difference. And then there is a hierarchy of Brahma, where God is Param Brahma and we are all its parts. Whereas scientists or the materialists, so there are, monoliths, materialists, scientists, and Hinduism, they are monistic principles. They say Brahma is all, science says material is all, matter is all, and matter is the ultimate reality, and all others are the emergent properties. Now, emergent property principle is of course there very much. We can illustrate it by examples like you see, if you take a 1 or 100 or a million molecules of water, it cannot wet a cloth. But when it becomes very large, billions and billions and billions, then the property of wetness emerges. That is one way of thinking about it. Same thing is the temperature is the emergent property of matter. If you take one or a few or 100 molecules, you can't measure the temperature, you can only see its energy. But when they all come together, then temperature emerges. You can measure the temperature with the thermometer. So there are many things in physics which talk of emergent properties, and what the scientists say is that everything has come out of matter. When matter has reached a critical state, then the brain is produced, and when neutrons make a critical number and structures, then consciousness emerges, as if in that Aladdin's Kachhara, that all of a sudden something will appear, and that emergent properties are very well known in science. I want to also talk about a little bit about karma, because karma plays a very important role, according to me, between exchange between consciousness and mind and brain and sensory organs. And this is very similar to Higgs field. I don't want to go into equations here just now, but when in the Big Bang theory, when the particles are produced, they don't have mass. And but we know that electrons and protons and all these things have mass. So this question has been discussed for several centuries, that how the mass appears. And Ernst Mach gave a principle which I think very useful. It is like our principle of Parasparopgraho Jivanam, that particle mass is due to interaction of one body with the rest of the universe. But this only remained a principle, as a very ethical principle, that the whole universe is interconnected and the particle mass arises from the mass of or its interaction with the rest of the universe. But recently, about a decade ago or so, Higgs gave this concept which explained the mass of particles very well. And why I am discussing it is that it explains, according to me, our karma theory very well. What Higgs said is that there is a Higgs field everywhere, and particles interacts with the field and acquire the mass depending on their interaction coefficient. So there is a Higgs self-coupling field, self-coupling coefficient, similar to our, so depending on the strength of the Higgs field and our interaction coefficient, the mass is acquired. So electron has different mass and quarks have different mass and so on. Similarly, we can say karmas are acquired by interaction. If we don't interact, karmas are not acquired. And lambda here, if I take a simile between the Higgs theory, we can discuss in detail if you want later on. But just now I think I am running out of time, so I'll try to close it. So lambda is a self-coupling interaction coefficient which is intermediated by kashayas, that is emotions, and it interacts with manokash, and it gives all the through manovargana. I think they are very similar. We can elaborate on this later on, but at this point of time I'll try to stop. So what is consciousness is awareness of self and surroundings, and Mahavir Swami also said so, that all our cells of body are dying and getting replaced, but the feeling of I-ness, that childhood to youth to old age continues, and that is self, and it invokes Atma. And quantum consciousness is necessary to give us a multiple choice, and it is necessary also for evolution. You can't evolve unless you have multiple choices, otherwise one will remain a monolithic structure. So, and then of course Josephson, who laureate, who he talks of super consciousness that is beyond ordinary awareness, when experiencer and awareness both merge in one, as in samadhi. I had a chance to meet him once and he explained it to me. So this is a fundamental aspect of nature, and rules of processing may not be all physics based, but I think different rules, we have to formulate them. So I have to stop here. I have run out of time. What I want to say is that we have to integrate physics. We can't say that physics is incomplete and it has not explained anything and it is insufficient. I think it has prepared the ground from which, based on which we can understand all the philosophy, and we have to of course take anakantik drishti in this, that all these entities manage subtle phenomena, so we have to visualize them from practical point of view as well as from definitive point of view. So I just wanted to prepare a ground for future discussions, and I would like to thank you for listening patiently to me, and I think in the coming our discussions we'll have some light thrown on these various propositions I have made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bhandari sir. Again, excellent propositions and the discussions. You have given a new thoughts. And what I wish to add is that it is the interconnectedness and the universalness that's the main important. We all are fragmentary to it. And though we are considering ourselves as a bigger one, no, we are, and that's you have amply brought it out. Thank you once again. In fact, both the lectures today are excellent propositions, and we really enjoyed it. I'll just take one question only. Sri Arunji, I missed him last time. So if he is available, I'll request him to put the brief one as much as, because we are running short of time. Arunji, please.
नहीं, बहुत सुंदर नरेंद्र जी। मैंने तो सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन पूछा कि चक्रा का क्या रोल है, कोई चक्रा का रोल जैन में है कि नहीं है, 7 चक्रा जैसे बोलते हैं हिंदू धर्म में?
Anyone of you will
A question to me?
नरेंद्र
आप
जी
कर
के लिए।
दीजिए। आप कर दीजिए।
No, say chakras, as far as Jain philosophy is concerned, Acharya Mahapragya has stated in his books that chakras are consciousness centers in our body.
हम्म।
They are chakras, So,
ओके।
If you like me to put in the scientific language, chakras are just as Dr. Kachhara Sahib said, they are consciousness center. Like Mooladhar, we call it as a spinal animal or a spinal person. Means it has got no control from the medulla oblongata or the higher up in the brain. So all the centers, they are like autonomic nervous system is added at one place in the cervical region. So these are the way we can explain, but there are no clear cut this one things that this is the where the chakra are there that we are not able to. But this is a concept. Similarly, the pineal gland, which has been put as a separate one, it is not true because pineal gland goes down as you evolve in the life, whereas it should have proliferated because you have got so much knowledge. So these are the points, but science has got no definite answer to it.
नहीं,
Any
उसमें
other
जो
question?
नहीं, उसमें
Please.
या
आप बताइए।
कॉन्शियसनेस वो जो नरेंद्र जी ने बोला ना, ब्रेन इज अ रिसीवर, so chakra is also receiver of a waves of the like planetary positions, because sometimes chakras are linked with planetary positions. So
Yes.
is planetary waves and the chakras as a receiver defines the astrology or astronomy?
Astronomy and other things I will not be able to
Okay,
answer.
ठीक है, बात तो कर लेंगे, कोई नहीं।
But if you put it, every cell in the body are receiver. Every cell has got the mind. Every cell has got the soul. So if you put it, there is nothing in isolation. Dr. Bhandari Sahib has amply put it forward. So there
Okay.
is nothing that it is in isolation. It is there, but they are concentrated at certain places, and most places is in the brain. That is the. Any other question? Brief question.
May I just take a minute to explain? There is a book on mantras published by Arihant Academy
Recently.
recently by Parveen Jain, where he has taken the notes of Sushil Muniji, and there they talk that all these chakras, they communicate. The root chakra uses para. I talked about para waves, para, and then Pashyanti, the heart talks through Pashyanti, and then the mind talks through electromagnetic waves, and then the body considers the physical sound waves. So all these are discussed in that. If you are interested, you can look at that book. That has just come out about a month ago or 2 months ago.
Okay, I'll just take an order from where can I order. I'll just
But
check it out.
he talks about all the chakras from Jain concept and all these 4 ways of communication, and then how mantras are important, what mantras can do to mind and brain and so on. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or short comments or the questions? I think we have already overshooted the things, but we had wonderful feast and academic interactions. I thank both of the speakers and the audience for their persistence. Thank you very much once again. Dr. Anilji, please, closing.
Thank you very much, Kachhara Sahab and Bhandari Sahab. They have given a very nice talk. And just I will like to conclude, Dr. Kachhara Sahab discussed functioning and working of mind in the light of Jain philosophy and science, and argued that science cannot solve mystery of mind purely on physical basis, and the Jain philosophy is in a better position to explain mind with the help of science. Only question is, one question remains is that we don't have much explanation on brain in Jainism. That is one point that we should also highlight. Likewise, Dr. Narendra Bhandari ji opined that it is desirable to integrate all the philosophies and Western concepts to arrive at correct understanding of reality. He further concluded that body, brain, mind, and soul are all entangled with each other. And this entanglement, believe, come in science also, in physics also. It seems to be interesting. And he also said once that we receive from outside also information. So these things are very interesting. Two different perspectives we have seen here. So I thank you very much. Thank both the speakers very much for their valuable inputs and their talks. And just I want to remind you all the persons here that next session will be on Tuesday, where three persons will talk. One is Dr. Pratap Sanchetee, and another is Dr. Subhas Jain from USA, and third one is also there. I am just missing the name. So I request all of you to be present there, and it is really interesting. And I requested Arunji also. I don't know he is available
He's
now.
available. He's
Yes.
available.
So yes. So to prepare a talk on how the AI works and how our brain works. So parallel between brain and AI. I am waiting for his approval, and we will put as he has suggested in the end of this month, in the month of July end.
Yeah.
So it is okay
So,
for me, but it will
yeah.
be interesting also. Uh, so with this note, I thank you all. You presented here and given your valuable time. Thank you very much.
Sir,
Namaskar.
I just
Jai.
want to make one point that if anybody wants to take up problems related to what will come out of this meeting, then Jain Academy of Scholars will be happy to support them for taking research projects, because this is a very complicated topic. This is the topic which we must solve, and we are with all the experts here, we are equipped with various type of expertise. So if any scholars want to work, please make some proposal, and we'll be very happy to support you financially as well as our experts. We have about 120 scholars and about 60 guardian members now. So it's a very big group with a global footprint, and any scholar wants to work on any of the problem related to consciousness, brain or mind, I think JS is a platform which is ready to support them. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Narendraji, I am just finding a lot of things in AI which is coming in the world has got some principle which I personally realizing and getting benefited of, because we have a large research department of more than 200 people in AI. So, but a lot of giant principles can be contextually relevant because of the accuracy of intelligence, because AI is about intelligence accuracy, which comes from knowledge, which comes from reasoning, which comes from context, and a lot of talk which um, today Narayanji and you have mentioned about it is topics are not discussed in Western AI. So when we want to understand AI, we need to understand first human intelligence first, and then only we can do the best realization of the uh, true AI. As of now, AI is still at a very distant from what people are talking about, and it's been misunderstood significantly. So sometime we'll talk about it. So that is the time when we can do some research on some initiate some research in that area.
Yes.
Yes, sir. That's very interesting. I think we should understand our own intelligence, natural intelligence, and use AI also. Both
Yeah,
should be integrated, I guess.
that's
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I say Dr.
Yes,
Sonal Jaiswal from Mumbai. She has already worked for this artificial intelligence, means AI versus spiritual intelligence. So that lecture is uploaded on our JS YouTube channel. So you can go through it, and if we want to contact her, we can.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
any other announcement, Purvi?
No, so this RTM will be continue whole July month. So all are welcome to join this RTM, and every Wednesday we have Samhita class, that is 8:30 to 9:30. So link we have already circulated today. So if you miss out in the slide, please use this permanent link for Zoom. आज कई लोगों के मैसेज आए लिंक के लिए, इसीलिए ये अनाउंस किया कि ये लिंक
Yes,
हमारी
बिल्कुल जी.
परमानेंट रहेगी. ठीक है.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So on behalf of GS, I thanks everybody for joining, and thanks to Anil sir, Pratap Sanchetee sir, and both the speakers for conducting this RTM. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jai Jitendra.